Hey everyone, in this series we will cover how to create a dashboard from start to finish using Power BI to display our sports science, performance, or strength and conditioning data. Now a quick introduction, I'm a strength and conditioning coach at Bryant University. So a lot of what I show and cover in these videos will be specific to how we set things up and do things here at Bryant. However, they should be applicable no matter where you are, especially if you're just trying to display your data using Power BI. Now we won't actually use Power BI desktop at all in this video. In this video, we're just going to go over how we're going to store and manage our data. We're going to create a workspace, create a data flow in that workspace, and then set that data flow up to automatically refresh. So to get started, just a quick overview. These are all of our Microsoft Teams here at Bryant. We're not going to go into any of those. The one we're going to go into is Bulldog Sports Science. Now within this team, we have two channels, General and Teams. We'll select the Teams channel, and then we'll go to Files, and then we'll see all of our teams once again. Within this channel itself, we do hold a lot of our data. So a lot of our data also, though, gets pulled from other sources, whether it's exported, it's GPS or force plate or whatever other type of data. I've skipped ahead and just made this a little quicker. I've already created another folder called Practice, and then within this folder I've two more, Catapult Data and Data, and these are kind of what we're going to use. Catapult Data will be used in a later video. We'll get right into this data folder, and I already have a sample Excel file called Sample Roster, and this is what we're going to open up and get started with. So as you see here, I have my roster. It's not formatted how I want it, so that's what we're going to do first. But this worksheet is called Roster. I'm going to create a table with the data in here. So table, my table does have headers already. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to name this table something just a little different than my worksheet so we can differentiate between the two later. Now this isn't fully finished. I'm just going to set up a quick function here, equals first name and sign, quotation, space, quotation, and sign, last name, auto populates the full names. I am going to leave this one cell blank. And just two more quick things I'm going to do. I'm going to type outside the table to show you exactly why I want it formatted as a table. This is our roster, full name, height, weight, position, hometown, and image URL. And then the image URL is the URL to the headshot of the specific player. So if I click on this, it'll bring it to that specific picture. And this will be useful later when we're actually creating the dashboard to have the player's headshot. But this is set up exactly how I want it. So once I have, let's just say my data or my file, and I want to create a data flow, we're going to go to a browser, app.powerbi.com, and then we are going to create a new workspace. From here, I'm already logged in. Workspaces, new workspace. We're going to call our team the Boston All-Stars because a bunch of Boston sports greats. Apply that. And now we have our workspace created. From here, we're going to go new, data flow. And then it's going to give us four options. We are going to click add new tables. Now it's asking us our data source. Where's our data coming from? It has already a lot of options, and then there's a ton more if you click view more. You would expect it to be Excel file, Excel workbook, because that's what essentially it is. However, the option we're going to choose is Web API. Now it's asking us for a URL. And to get this, we'll go back to our Excel file, click File, Info, Copy Path. Then with that copied path, go back to the creating a data flow, paste it, and delete everything after the file extension. So 1 equals web question mark. So our file extension is that Excel file. And then just to go over this URL, this is exactly just the link to essentially where our file's coming from. So it's SharePoint, technically, as Microsoft is, Bulldog Science, Teams, Practice, Data, Sample Roster. Mine's already connected as an organizational account. You may or may not need to do this depending on how your data is being pulled. This is good. I'll click next here. So I've connected to my data source, and then it gives us two options, roster and sample roster. If you remember, roster is the name of the worksheet. Sample roster is the name of the table. Sample roster is what I want, and I'll just show you by clicking roster, showing you the high that I typed outside the table. So I'll select sample roster, the table, because it's only pulling in exactly what I want. I'll check this off, and then I'll go ahead and click transform data, and then it's going to bring me to Power Query. So in here, you can modify data, transform it, add columns, change stuff, do a million different things with your data. However, on the right, this kind of shows just what's going on in here. So our applied steps are it's pulling it from the source, so the Excel workbook, navigating to the specific table, and then it's automatically changing the column types. So if these were formatted generally a simple way, it'll recognize that, which it did with ours. So text columns are ABC, numerical or whole numbers are 1, 2, 3. So this is exactly how I want it, but say it wasn't, say these weights had decimals, I can click the top left, change it to decimal. I can replace my current step, or I can add another one, and it just adds it to the right, and it shows it here, 1.2. However, how it was right, so I'm just going to click the X next to that step. This is good. I'm going to save and close, finish my data flow, and then I'm just going to give it a name, roster, save this, and from here, success. Data flow has been saved. We're good to go there. I can manually refresh it right away by clicking refresh now. But this is within our data flow. These are the tables we have, or the table name. And you can go back in and edit things within that data flow. Going back, this is back to our workspace. We now have a roster data flow. I'm the owner. And then right when we created it, we refreshed it. Now, just to finish out this video, we're just going to cover how to set up an automatic refresh. So we can hover over this, click the three dots, and click settings. So say we have a file that we want to constantly refresh because maybe our roster is changing every day, or say it's a just different type of file that has new data come into it every single day. We can select refresh on Eastern time zone, and then we can add times. Say we want an early morning and mid-afternoon, really whatever works best for you, but say you add data late at night and you want it to refresh first thing in the morning, or midday, you want to refresh before the night, you can set those up in here and apply it. And this may take a second to load. Say you want, you don't want to go in manually and do it. Power BI will automatically refresh the data for you if you set up the manual refresh. So now our next refresh is set for 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, and it'll do this daily. So 5 a.m., 3 p.m., and then on and on and on. However, you can also just automatically go back in and manually refresh it if that's what you need to do. This will make things a lot easier down the road when we put our data flow kind of together into the report. The data flow will become a data set, and you're going to most likely want things to constantly refresh if the data is changing. If it's not, you may not need to do that. But it's a good step to have and a good step to know. And lastly, just to finish this video, just going through things overall, we want to try and keep our data obviously as organized and clean as possible, but specifically for Power BI, it is understanding this file is a link through SharePoint, and we remember that link was specific to this team, this channel, this folder, all spelled those exact ways, So if we change anything within that source, we change this to practice data instead of data, or we change this to roster instead of sample roster, our data flow will end up failing. So just keep in mind as we're moving forward, when you create your data flows or your links to all of them, trying to keep it one in the same place at all times, but also organized and named properly so that it's easy to connect and remember. And then lastly, that just same thing goes into the Excel file. The data flow recognize recognizes this Excel file a specific way. So if we were to go into the data flow, we see our specific data flow. These columns are recognized through the data flow now. So if we delete any column here, the data flow won't recognize the column. It'll disappear and then everything will shift over, but it won't be under the right name. So the data flow will fail there. So just keep in mind that as well. If we change the name of these column headers or delete them, the data flow may fail. But if you add after these columns, that's no issue because it'll just add to the table, which is another reason why I like formatting it as a table. Just keeps it easier to manage in the long run.